Controversial story of the evening. We'll talk exclusively with the private eye who has investigated Jackson's private life. Right back.
The crime. Once kept an eye on, yes, Wacko Jacko, Michael Jackson. Stay tuned.
That sore throat.
The #1 program on cable news. Enter the No Spin Zone on the O'Reilly Factor. The most powerful name in news. Fox News Channel.
Thanks for staying with us. I'm Bill O'Reilly. In a personal story segment tonight, California private investigator Don Crutchfield was hired by various media outlets to look into the private life of Michael Jackson. That was in 1993, shortly before a 12-year-old boy accused Jackson of molesting him. That boy's horrifying statement to police has now been made public. What is still secret is exactly what Michael Jackson has done privately over the years. Joining us now from Los Angeles is Mr. Crutchfield, the author of the book, Confessions of a Hollywood P.I. All right, what is the most disturbing thing that you found out about Jackson that you can prove?
Well, Bill, there's several things. First of all, the boy that you mentioned, his mother and father were divorced, and she was remarried and had a daughter with her second husband. And I was asked to look in what was going on with this family, because all of a sudden Michael Jackson is taking the mother, the son, the little girl to Monaco, to Paris, to Las Vegas. He's dressing up the 12-year-old boy like himself. And so when I went in to find out about this family, I found out there'd been a modification made on the custody, and the mother had voluntarily gave the boy back to the husband. This is very strange.
The ex-husband,
like
the father got custody.
The father,
right.
Yeah, the father. She had given custody back to the father. Volunteer to do it. Now, you know, when I looked into this, it says that she can have visitation of the boy, but the boy is not to have any communication, including even a telephone call, with a certain Michael Jackson. If this happens, then a third party will be appointed by the court, and at her expense, and they'll have to be there when they have visitation. Very strange for something like this to happen. Like the husband. The father had something on her. And then all of a sudden, Michael Jackson's attorneys get involved in it, and they're trying to get the boy back for the mother.
All right, so what you're implying is that Michael Jackson had a deal with the mother of some kind.
No, I think the mother was afraid she was going to be exposed, and she turned the custody back over to the father.
Exposed as what, though? Exposed as what?
Well, you think about what it might be. And so then when they actually were successful getting the custody returned back to the mother, but before that happened, there were negotiations going on with the father and his attorneys and Michael Jackson's people, private investigators and stuff like that. They didn't get anywhere. So the morning he was supposed to return the boy, instead he took the boy to a psychiatrist, and the boy spent 3 hours with the psychiatrist.
And that's when this whole thing unfolded about the molestation, right? And
yes,
right. As soon as you tell a mental health official in California that you've been molested, the official has to go to the police, and that's how the whole thing started.
That's
but the
right.
scenario,
Michael
look, most people want to go, did the parents know that this was going on, that this Jackson was molesting this boy, and they let it go on because they were bought off? I mean, did that happen?
It looks that way. It looks that way.
All
it
right.
really looks that way.
Both parents culpable here?
I think so. I think all the adults were bad people in this. The one I feel sorry for is the boy.
Sure, he's 22 years old now, but he got $25 million to
whatever.
settle.
It'll never pay for the scars.
No, of course not. But who got the money? Did the father get the money? The mother get the money, or he get the money?
No, I think the boy got the money.
All right, so it's put in trust for the kid, and he has it now.
Right.
That's why he hasn't said anything. That's why he hasn't come forward. Because there's probably signed papers that say he can't, right?
Absolutely signed papers that says he can't. But if you read my book, it's pretty graphic as what happened. And I got to tell you something. This boy stood up under the child service, the police department, and a deposition. I was privy to all three of these, and he didn't change his story at all. I'd have a hard time.
Yeah, well, we read it now, and for a 12-year-old boy to make those graphic descriptions.
But there was three different entities, and you know, it's amazing to me.
I don't doubt it, sir. Look, I want to move ahead on this story now.
Right.
That was settled, and now Jackson continued his relationship with young boys primarily.
Right.
Do you believe that this guy's a serial molester?
Well, I had run into a bodyguard that had worked for Michael Jackson for 8 years, a guy named Jerome Johnson. They call him JJ. And he was around during this period of time. He was a very religious guy, wanted to think Michael was Peter Pan. But I got to tell you something. He told me that he would have a sleepover with as many as 4 kids. And when they were like on tour and they stayed in the hotel, he'd have his own suite. If you interrupted Michael Jackson when he was with those boys, he told me that was the last time you probably worked for him, unless Michael told you to interrupt him. Never interrupt him when he was
all right,
with
but he
those
could
kids.
just be an eccentric, you know what I mean?
True,
it doesn't have to be a pedophile, although obviously it looks like it is. Now, I understand this guy, Jackson, also told you that he lied in front of a grand jury to protect Michael Jackson?
Now here's what JJ said. Bill Bray, who was Michael's head of security, had an argument with one of the bodyguards. He wanted to fire him. Michael Jackson wouldn't let him fire him. This guy said, I'm going to kill the guy. And he had his, JJ took his gun away from him. Michael Jackson called. JJ actually answered the phone, gave the phone to Bill Bray. And Bill Bray said, Michael, I can't, words to the effect, I can't believe you. He said, here, you won't let me fire him after I've gone to the grand jury and I've lied about you molesting those little boys.
Really? All right.
And JJ at that point, he knew then that it wasn't Peter Pan.
Okay, now, Lisa Marie Presley. What was that all about? Do you have any idea what that was all about?
I was the first person to find out that they had gotten married. I always thought Tina Turner should have been there to sing What's Love Got to Do with It. You know, while you folks thought that they were on their honeymoon, we were actually following her, and she was in a plastic surgery clinic in Woodland Hills having a breast augmentation and liposuction done on her thighs.
All right, but that's fine. I don't need those kind of details. But what was that all about? Was that a publicity thing?
Obviously not a honeymoon. JJ also was at Neverland a lot of the time, and he never saw Lisa Marie there. He didn't. So
it was just a publicity dodge, is what it was.
I believe. Sure, I believe it was.
Okay, now the last question, Mr. Crutchfield, because we don't only have a minute left. All right, now. We got a guy here, it looks like that he's a serial molester. He's got 3 children of his own, right? We got 1 minute left. How did he get those children?
Well, you know, I think Debbie Rowe was a good friend, somebody he could trust, and it was rent-a-womb. I think that's about what it boiled down to. You know, the first kid, I have doubts whether that's even his. I mean, she was like 7 months pregnant when they got married. But you look at the children, I really have my doubts about the whole thing.
Well, she carried 2 of his children, Roe, right?
That's correct.
And then she shows up with the baby we just saw dangling over the thing. Where did that baby come from?
You got me.
So you don't know where that baby came from?
You absolutely got me. No, I mean, it's from somebody anonymous.
All right. Very, very disturbing, and he still runs around and gets paid millions of dollars for talking about this terrible stuff.
Well, he's not Peter Pan. He just got you guys for a couple $1 million to do the outtakes.
Well, not me, guys. Don't put me in on that. I'm just an employee.
I don't mean you.
If I had to make the decision, Mr. Crutchfield, if I had to make the decision, he'd be doing a hard time right now in a penitentiary. That's where he'd be. We appreciate it very much, sir. Thank you. When we come right back, tomorrow is Valentine's Day, but some